The difference between admiration and envy dawned on me a few weeks ago. It was early in the morning on the first Sunday of December, the morning of the Rocket City Marathon. The organizers of that event are kind enough to give me the opportunity each year to offer a devotion before the race starts. The devotion is at about 6:30. Then at 6:55 or so, I do a prayer for the runners right before the race begins. So a couple of months ago, I was standing on the platform at the starting line waiting for my turn. I looked out at the hundreds of runners in the street. It was cold. It was drizzling rain. The people in the street with their numbers pinned to their shirts and their cool shoes were about to spend the next cold, wet hours running. I admired them. I did not envy them. And it dawned on me. There's a big difference between admiration and envy. Welcome to TV, Tennessee Valley Church. We've come to the 10th commandment, the last one in this journey. Exodus 20:17. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. I said about those runners in the Rocket City Marathon on that cold, wet, early Sunday morning that I did not envy them. To covet is a bit different from envy. Coveting is like envy on steroids. Envy is deep disappointment, even resentment over what somebody else has. Coveting is wanting what someone else has. Have you ever been sitting in a restaurant after you ordered, or maybe after you've even begun your meal, and looked over to see the waiter or waitress bring a dish to someone that you wish now you had ordered? Martha Hope wrote, "When dining out in public, it fills me with dismay to see the dinner that I want on someone else's tray." That's coveting. To covet is to jealously and enviously want what other people have. And more than the meal on someone else's tray, his money, her house, his car, her achievements, his friends, her family. Coveting is not just wanting what someone else has. Coveting means believing that by all rights, that should be mine. Coveting is beyond, I think I would have done a good job had I gotten that position. Coveting is beyond, I would have been the best quarterback, or I should have been given the lead role in the play. Coveting is a deep resentment that someone else got it, a secret longing that he or she fails, and maybe even intentional efforts to undermine him or her. Coveting is a grudge, a preoccupation. Coveting is bitterness. Before I move on, let me be clear on one thing. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by others. Nothing wrong with being inspired by a friend who has, for example, gone back to school to pursue personal goals and says, if he or she can do it, I can do it. Nothing wrong with the husband and wife who see people with good marriages and who say, we want more out of our marriage. Inspiration looks at someone who has done well and says, I want to do that too. But covetousness looks at someone who has done well and says, I want to be above him. I want to be above her. I want to have more than you. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by others, and it's not unusual to admire what others have, especially when we see pictures on social media of our friends living the good life. They're on cruises and getting promotions, and their pictures are in the social magazines in their tuxes and evening gowns, and the humdrumness of our own lives pales in comparison. Admiration of others is not unusual. But when that admiration of others' lives and the wish that our lives were more glamorous or exciting, when that really starts to bug us, when we resent what others are enjoying, when admiration festers into bitterness, when it becomes a grudge, when it becomes an unhealthy, self-destructive preoccupation, then we have a problem the Bible describes as sin, the sin of coveting. Coveting makes small people out of us. Have you heard the word Schadenfreude? It comes from two German words. Schaden means suffering and Freude means joy. The word Schadenfreude refers to the joy we feel at someone else's suffering. Schadenfreude is pleasure in the misfortune of others. You know, that private personal feeling of delight when someone we don't like has a problem. That private personal enjoyment we get out of seeing someone we don't care for suffer some setback. Imagine, for example, Billy Ray, who always has envied his neighbor's hunting dogs. Billy Ray even wishes his neighbor's hunting dogs were his. His neighbor is really proud of those hunting dogs and is always bragging, obnoxiously bragging about those hounds. One day, Billy Ray's neighbor said he was going to enter his dogs in a contest and he was sure they'd win. Well, a couple of weeks later, Billy Ray sees his neighbor and asks, "How did your dogs do?" Sheepishly, his neighbor answered, "They didn't do so well. The judges weren't fair." "Oh," his neighbor says, "and by the way, one of my dogs is really sick and I don't think he's going to make it." "That's a shame," says Billy Ray. But inside he's smiling. He's delighted those dogs didn't do well in that contest. He's even kind of happy one of the dogs is sick. That's Schadenfreude. Picture a lady who's up for a promotion at work. Let's call her Sally Jean. Sally Jean has been in middle management for years and has applied for a position in upper management. One afternoon, an email goes out to the applicants. "Congratulations," the email says, "to the one named to the new upper management position." And it's not Sally Jean. Sally Jean is both disappointed and angry. It's not fair, she thinks. She believes she was the most qualified. The job should have been hers. Then a few weeks pass and Sally Jean begins to hear rumors that things aren't going so well with the one who got the job she wanted. The higher-ups are unhappy. People down the organizational chart are complaining. The person who got the job now has marital problems and health problems because of the stress. And anytime Sally Jean hears that kind of talk, she enjoys hearing all the gory details. It doesn't matter that her company is suffering and that her coworker is hurting. She fakes concern, but privately, Sally Jean relishes the bad news. That's Schadenfreude. Those are hypotheticals, of course, and in real life, it's not just dog owners and middle managers who are prone to Schadenfreude. All of us are prone to covet, and coveting makes small people out of us. Coveting makes us feel, well, Schadenfreude. Do not gloat when your enemy fails. When he stumbles, do not let your heart rejoice. Thus says the Lord in Proverbs 24:17. Coveting causes us to hurt people. Coveting makes us like crabs in a barrel. Have you heard of the crabs in a barrel mentality? Apparently, when a crab looks like he's climbing out of the barrel above the others, the rest of the crabs will grab with their claws and pull that rising crab back down to their level. This metaphor of crabs in a barrel is used to describe what happens when someone seems to be rising above his or her peers. His or her peers will often try to pull that one back down to their level. Truth is, some of us are a lot like those crabs in a barrel. We have an irresistible urge to pull someone back down if it looks like they're going to do something that will distinguish them. If they're getting a promotion or an award, for example. So we'll make little comments that cast doubts in people's minds toward that person. Maybe trying to discredit that person or putting a damper on the admiration that they are receiving. Coveting can make crabs in a barrel of us all. Rather mean crabs at that. Crabs that gossip and undermine people and try to pull them back down and hurt their chances of success. Coveting causes us to hurt people. In James 4 we read, "What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You want something but don't get it. You kill and covet, but you cannot have what you want. So you quarrel and fight." Coveting makes small people out of us and causes us to hurt people. In just a few minutes, I'll be back to talk about the root cause of our coveting, about an attorney with a sad job, and about one of my favorite athletes, David Robinson.
I'm still in your presence, and all the noise dies down. Lord, speak to me now. You have all my attention. I will linger and listen. I can't miss a thing. Lord, I know my heart wants more of you. My heart wants something new, so I surrender all. All I want is to live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. You're the fire in the morning, you're the cool in the evening, the breath in my soul, you're the life in my bones. There is no hesitation in your love and affection. It's the sweetest of all. Lord, I know my heart wants more of you. My heart wants something new, so I surrender all. All I want is to live within your love, be undone by who you are. My desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven. Touch from you. I open up my heart to you. I open up my heart to you now. So do what only you can. Jesus, have your way in me now. I open up my heart to you. I open up my heart to you now. So do what only you can. Jesus, have your way in me now. desire is to know you deeper. Lord, I will open up again, throw my fears into the wind. I am desperate for a touch of heaven.
Community of Hope is working to give hope to the homeless community. Mandy Kilgore is the founder of Community to Hope and joins us today. And thank you so much for coming here to tell us more about this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be able to share more.
As our population increases in Huntsville in the Tennessee Valley, that means that the homeless population also increases. What is the mission of Community of Hope?
Community of Hope was founded really out of frustration. We were so frustrated in not being able to find adequate housing for homeless brothers and sisters when that time approached, and it came closer for them to be housed. We couldn't find it. And I've been serving the streets in the Huntsville area for about 12 years now, and really just got frustrated with not being able to find housing that made sense for our homeless friends to be able to get off of the streets and stay off of the streets. I think that's the most important aspect of it. It was founded through frustration, and our mission is to build a residential community for chronic homeless individuals who can find the supportive elements that they need to get off of the streets and stay off of the streets.
And you've got this planned out. You've got the community just all planned out with 8 residences in each little area and 2 missional homes. What are those?
The community is designed with relational impact. So it's like a pod. You've got a pod of houses, and there's going to be 10 houses like you're talking about. 8 of those will be occupied. They're single dwelling occupancy that will be occupied by homeless individuals or people who have experienced chronic homelessness. And then 2 of those will be missional homes. And that will be people like you and I who may have never experienced homelessness, who can be the leader, the guide, the mentor, the friend, the encourager in that space. So that way, that whole get off of the streets and stay off of the streets, that part is a lot harder than people really put a lot of thought process into. Housing will never solve homelessness, but community will. So if you have great neighbors who can bring you a bowl of soup when you're not feeling well, or who can encourage you to not drink alcohol when you want to drink alcohol, if you have that missional right there beside you, then you're less likely to divert back to the streets, which is basically what our friends know. They know what it's like to live in that situation, and they're a little bit more uncomfortable living in a house situation.
It's hard to break that cycle.
Totally.
And you're looking for land not necessarily in the city,
right,
but outside, more in the county, and
yes,
you call it more like a working farm.
Yes, we need to be in the county because of the zoning and coding issues that we face within the city limits to be housed in the city. We realize that services are in the heart of the city, we know that, but we'll work very hard with our county commissioners and our city council to ensure that transportation is provided to the community so people can get back into the city for work. So it's very important that we obtain property. We're looking for 50 acres. We want to be in Madison County, and we don't want to be too far. 15 to 20 minutes outside of the city limits would be perfect for us.
What can we do, Mandy? What can we do to help you make this happen?
Awareness. We need to know, people need to know, Huntsvillians need to know that we exist, that we're working to do our part in solving chronic homelessness. And solving is simply effectively dealing with. We want to be able to effectively deal with the people who are experiencing homelessness and provide a safe place where they can become contributing citizens again. So we need awareness, we need people to know that we exist, and we need funding. We need funding to be able to purchase property and to build a community that Huntsville will be proud of.
And there may be someone watching right now
Absolutely,
who has land, family land, that they would want to
Without
to give
a shadow
to this.
of a doubt. I believe when I drive through Huntsville and Madison County, there's still so much land out there. So much land. It could be family land. It could be a variety of different parcels. We're just looking for 50 acres. And I think it can be done. Someone out there has that property, and God knows that. We're waiting, patiently waiting for that right person to come across.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When we covet, there's always something deeper going on. I sat down on a plane one day next to an attorney. We chit-chatted, and I found out his specialty is large estate settlements. Mine is not a happy work, he said. He flies all over the country, settling disputes among siblings after their parents' deaths. He told me how nasty the arguments get. And he said that the arguments over the estate are usually rooted in something deeper. It's usually not about who gets the china, he said. It's usually about long-standing grudges and resentments and conflicts. You might have had more boyfriends than I had, she says to her sister, but you're not getting the antique furniture. You might have done better in your career than I did, he says to his sister, but you're not getting the house. It's coveting. We're back to something we talked about when we were talking about stealing. Stealing and coveting are both rooted in something deeper, in the deep and pervasive discontent of our culture. The Apostle Paul wrote, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. The Bible itself calls us to contentment. The Bible calls us to turn away from the incessant and insatiable longing for more and more and more. The Christian faith requires us to trust God's ability to provide for us and then to be content with what He provides. Coveting is rooted in discontent. Here's the deal. No matter how much we have, someone else always has more. No matter how fast your business is growing, someone else's is growing faster. No matter how well your kids are doing, someone else's kids are doing better. Comparing and coveting are always a losing exercise. Let me illustrate that. One of my favorite basketball players ever, maybe my favorite, is David Robinson, the Admiral. David Robinson grew up in a military family and attended the U.S. Naval Academy, where he was a star in basketball. David graduated in 1987, but he didn't go straight to the NBA. First, he served 2 years active duty in the Navy. In 1989, he joined the Naval Reserves and began playing for the San Antonio Spurs. David Robinson was an immediate star. He played in the NBA for 14 years, winning 2 NBA championships, was named MVP in 1995, was named an All-Star 10 times, and played on the U.S. Olympic team. But David Robinson is far more than a basketball player. He's widely known for his philanthropy and community service. He established an academy for under-resourced kids. He started a foundation to assist families who are struggling. David Robinson is a wonderful man. And here is why his story is relevant to this message on coveting. In 1998, David Robinson made $12,380,000, the third highest salary that year in the NBA. And he was quoted as saying, "Here I am with 5 cars, 2 houses, and more money than I ever thought I'd have. What more could I ask for? But there's Michael Jordan. He has more than I do, and boy, I'd like to have some of the things he has." That's coveting. Then David Robinson said, "What I had should have been plenty, but no matter how much I had, it didn't seem like enough, because material things can't satisfy your deepest needs." That's when I started to realize I needed the Lord. You and I don't need more stuff. You and I need the Lord Jesus.
Hi everyone, I'm Holly Knupp, Minister to Median Adults at First Baptist Huntsville. We are folks in our 40s and 50s, married, single, and empty nesters. We'd like to invite you to any of our in-person studies, small groups, or social events. Check out our website or email me at holly@fbchsv.org for more information. We look forward to building community and growing our faith together with you.